The journey of self acceptance, finding peace with who you are. This is a profound topic. It's a difficult process that you have to go through. And I'll tell you a little story, man. So, being out on the road, and, I called it often, it was like an arms race. And I was out on the road with another guitar player. And for some reason, he was always trying to compete with me. And we were entirely two different types of players. He was a country chicken picker, type player, and I was everything else kind of player. And if I got an amp, then he had to get an amp. And but he had considerably less experience than me. I had done other tours, I had done other sessions, I had played gigs for decades and had a lot more experience and had learned a lot more. And he was under the impression that you could buy a tone. And I knew that tone is ultimately in your hands, whether you're using a cheap amp and a cheap guitar, or using a very expensive guitar. And but I was at the point in my life where I was wanting to improve my gear. I had gotten into the band that I was in, and I came into it not really having a ton of great gear. And so I was playing catch up. I would be making money out on the road and then putting the money back into the rig that I would use out on the road. And in some ways, this was a good thing. I mean, look, at the time, my mortgage was $700 a month. You're not going to find anything. You're not going to be able to rent a trailer for that in Nashville these days. But at the time, it was very affordable to live. So a couple of gigs and a couple of days of per diem, and I'd pretty much be able to pay my mortgage. But like I said, when I first started with on the gig, I had a inexpensive Bogner, Line 6 Bogner was the first amp that I took out, because I initially took out a Fender Super Reverb. But the gig it was a little more modern than that. It wasn't sort of a retro, one of those Nashville retro gigs where you go out there with blackface amps and a Telecaster and go for that old school thing. I mean, there was times where I had to play like metal style riffs and all these different things other than just traditional country. And like I said, I initially got into the band, there was a different guitar player, and there wasn't so much competition, gear wise with him, although everybody was constantly bringing gear in and gear out. And, look, here's something about that. He would bring in so much gear. The first guy would bring in so much different gear that it started to get to the point where he would bring in things that either he wasn't comfortable playing, or there would be issues where gear would fail. I mean, look, once you get something that's tried and true, then works every night, you found a small miracle, and you probably need to stick with it. Swapping in different pieces, it changes the mix in everybody's in ears. I had times where, I played in one touring band and I had to have like 5 guitars with different tunings and different sounds and stuff to play during the course of the show. And I would literally be like rapid fire doing my own guitar changes with the guitars all in like I don't know, what do you call it? One of those suitcase stands. And man, I literally would have seconds to grab the next guitar and play the next tune. Because look, man, if you got songs in standard tuning, you got songs in, uh, E flat tuning, which sometimes, female vocalists or different vocalists like the E flat tuning. And then you've got, songs with drop D, and you've got, different things that you have to play. You end up having to have all these guitars. But this guitar player on the other side of stage, he started bringing so much different stuff, and things were starting to fail during the gigs because sometimes you bring a new piece of gear in, and maybe it's been sitting in the closet for a while, and you pull it out and you think it works, and then all of a sudden you discover there's a problem. You can also drastically change, as I was saying, with that one group having the 5 different guitars. Well, then, because I believe the singer was wearing in-ears, some of the guitars had hotter pickups in them than others. And she'd say, "Oh, well, when you switch guitars on this song, the guitar is louder in my ears, and can you fix that?" And so, without having maybe a dedicated monitor engineer or whatever, I have to try to think, what can I do? Maybe I could put a compressor on my pedal board so that all the guitars kind of have that squashed thing, so that one guitar isn't spiking her in-ears. So these are all things to think about. But man, you know what? Chasing the gear wars, chasing all that, man, you can't win that battle. I don't care if you have all the money in the world. You have to learn to accept who you are as a person, and who you are as a player. And it's not about the gear. It's not about spending the most money, or who's got this guitar, or who's got this amp, or who's got the latest pedal and all that. And I know this is the time of year where all the new gear comes out, and you have to almost, stop yourself from jumping into the next trend or new thing. But, there's always that pressure to be perfect, to have the perfect tone, to sound incredible. And in all reality, it's an unrealistic standard that you feel compelled to meet, whether it's in your career, personal life, or creative pursuits. This pressure can affect your mental health, and your overall happiness. Whenever I would buy a guitar, and thought, man, I've really worked hard and I've been on this gig for a long time, and I would buy a really nice guitar, and then immediately the other guitar player would go out and buy a really nice guitar. I'm like thinking, can't I just have something nice for a day? Can't I just enjoy the fact that I got this without somebody trying to one up me on the other side? And for a while there, man, we were just going back and forth buying. It's like, guys, look, my Rolex. Well, I just bought. I'm going to go buy a new Rolex. It has nothing to do with your happiness, and man, frankly, it's mental illness when it comes to that point. Now, the turning point, the moment where I realized, I needed to just accept who I was, and accept the player that I was probably getting off the road, and realizing and getting back to playing with people that I liked, and people and music that I enjoyed to work with and to play. And, it really kind of comes down to it. You can often take a paycheck, playing maybe with a group that you're, less than enthused with playing with, or a style of music that you really don't love. And we all do that. We all do that for money, man. Money is a great motivator because, hey, if you like nice gear, if you like nice things, if you like having a roof over your head, you're going to take the gig. I've got many people in the comments who say, "Oh man, I wouldn't do that." And I was just, well, look, man, if your rent is due, if your mortgage needs paying, and this is how you pay your bills, then you're going to take the gig. It depends on how hungry you are. You have to learn to embrace the flaws and imperfections in your playing, in your character, in your physical appearance, personal traits, and your past mistakes. The flaws and imperfections and mistakes that you make as a person, well, they define you because you have to learn from these things. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. We all have physical and mental imperfections. And the sooner that you can become aware of these things, the better you can be to try to correct them. And, but at the same time, you have to be aware of who you are. And you know what? The reality is, I'm not sure you can change that much. You can change what you do. You can change what you waste your time spending doing. That is one thing that you can do, but you have to realize, man, you were born with a certain personality and certain character traits, and you've got to often make decisions which benefit you rather than hinder your progress. The role of aging and experience is an important thing to ponder. It becomes in this business, youth is celebrated and youth is wanted. And, there's often times where, if a musician, an artist is out on the road and they've got their same players that they've had for years and years and they're paying them, at some point the accountant may say, you're paying your guys too much. Well, they've been with me for 20 years. Yep, but you can't afford this anymore. And you know what happens? Sometimes that band of stalwarts, sometimes that band of old pros is sent home. And sometimes they're replaced by rookies getting paid half the amount that the old pros were getting paid. Getting older is a fact of life. And even if you're a young guy, man, each day, all these lines in my face getting clearer. It's just a part of reality. But you know what? You learn a lot over time. You gain a lot of wisdom by doing life, by living life, by playing gigs, by having all these experiences. And it can help you guide you to the next place that you need to be. Man, I'm not sure that anybody really wants to see 60 and 70-year-old dudes in spandex with cutoff shirts. All respect to the guy that plays guitar in Def Leppard. Let me know his name in the comments, who's always shirtless on stage. I personally don't want to see that, but maybe they have a lot of fans that do. But for most of us who, don't ascend to that level, embrace your age, understand your aging. And look, man, look at a guy like Slash. Yeah, he's still out there rocking and rolling with Guns N' Roses. But he also started this year a blues project. And you know what? I see that as someone realizing, hey, I'm getting older. I need to be able to change direction. Rocking and rolling and banging your head and acting like a teenager is all well and good. And man, if you make it to that level, doing that, it's an incredible thing. And the fact that he's still alive and doing it today is absolutely incredible. But man, for most of us, we're gonna have to figure out another way to play. And being versatile as a musician is going to serve you well. We're all going to get older and we're going to gain wisdom, but true wisdom from age is being able to shift genres or directions at a moment's notice when it's time to do so. Self acceptance is going to help your creativity and your life. This is why it's very important. Look, man, we've all recorded something and thought, man, it's not good enough, or man, it's, this, or, and hear all the little tiny imperfections. And I think with today's modern technology, the reality is, man, everybody is striving to make the perfect, guitar solo. Everybody, people are cheating so that they can get their little dopamine fix on social media. People are speeding up and correcting their playing and then miming, to make themselves look better. And, I think that's kind of a sad, sad thing. There is beauty in imperfection. What do the Japanese call it? Wabi sabi, where there might be a beautiful flower and then it's got one leaf that's just absolutely hideous. Let me know in the comments if you know more about that Japanese philosophy. But the reality is this, man. You've got to be able to accept your mistakes, your weaknesses, and that will improve your music. It'll improve your relationships and your overall quality of life if you can learn to accept yourself. Take steps toward self-acceptance by practicing self-compassion. Set boundaries for yourself and focus on your inner strength. Focus on your unique strengths. We all have unique strengths. Focus on what you do well and continue to do it well. Self-acceptance is a journey. It's not a destination, and it's okay to take small steps.